Well, VHS and Memories makes another return finally on the podcast with The Rock from 1996. I'll just give you a little breakdown of the movie. Hollywood superstar Sean Connery joins award-winning Nicolas Cage in this action-packed thriller. All of San Francisco is taken hostage when a vengeful general, played by Ed Harris, who's awesome, seizes control of Alcatraz, the island, threatening to launch missiles loaded with deadly poisonous gas. With time running out, only FBI weapons expert Nicolas Cage and notorious federal prisoner Connery have the skills to penetrate the island's fortress and defuse the lethal situation. 2 hours and 16 minutes and 11 seconds. English. Well, that's the movie, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good movie. What did I watch?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd say like I really did enjoy it, and I'm happy I got to see it again, and with sitting down with like not looking at my phone and like really trying to take a look at it how I watched it as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, I saw this movie. I might have even seen it in the theater when I was younger, but I forgot what the 90s was like with movies, and this is a perfect example of what the 90s was like with movies. Like this just there's just so much happening in here and
Yeah,
so much over the top stuff
I
happening in here.
yeah, for sure. Like I'd say this was one of like in the top 10 favorite movies as a kid, so it's like I was so like impressionable in this time, and like this is what like movies to me like made me as a kid want to make movies, just this high intense action packed. And this is Michael Bay at his best for me. Like I don't really like Michael Bay at all much or his newer stuff, but like this is, yeah, you can see where he like went overboard after this and how he was like figuring out this style. But it's fast paced. Yeah, I don't know, it's crazy. Like for me, like I said, I do like it, and I grew up, yeah, Nick Cage fan and stuff, so it's like this, like you said, like you forgot about this. Like for me, it's like this was movies, like when I was
Right.
96, I was 10 years old,
Yeah, yeah,
when I
for
was
sure.
watching this.
Yeah, I mean, by this time in my film watching career in '96, what I was like, what was it? Yeah, I was much older than you, I
Mhm.
would imagine.
Exactly,
So
it's different, yeah.
I wanted to see movies that, invoked some kind of emotional reaction, whereas this it's like eye candy, and like I forgot Nicolas Cage, how big of a ham that guy is.
Yeah, I loved it though. Like this is like I don't know, like Face Off, this Con Air. I can't even. I think those are the three Cage movies that I like the most, or something.
Yeah,
Uh, can't
he's
really.
he
He's so Nicolas Cage in this, but the thing is, I like how him. I do like how him and Connery, or Sean Connery, play off each other.
Oh, for sure. No, Sean Connery is like the breath of fresh air
Yeah,
because like he sleepwalks his way through better like performances like this. This is nothing to him. So it's like
exactly.
he's just like just play Sean Connery. Oh, okay, I
Oh
can do
yeah.
that. I mean, it's his character is like it's so convoluted and so ridiculous, and why he's there is so ridiculous, but the fact that he's there kind of lends some credibility to everything, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that way. Like it's you could tell he's just like, well, I mean, I hope that as long as the check clears, I'll be in this movie, because there's
Oh
no
no, for
there's
sure.
no validate there's no way he was thinking, well, this is going to get me the Oscar.
No,
Finally,
no,
I'm gonna get
no.
that Academy Award I've always been wanting.
Mhm.
Like, no, no,
No,
no.
yeah, but their chemistry actually, like, it's something like there is they do have some sort of chemistry, like, because yeah, like I just like how like yeah, he's so over the top Cage and like so crazy, and like what's his name
Mhm.
plays it so straight, and yeah,
Totally,
I was like it
totally.
almost reminded me of me and you in a way, like like am I acting like a total fool, and like you're more grounded, but they have that dynamic like that where it's like one's really up but one's really down, but they balance. But yeah, like Sean Connery, he's barely acting, but he does an amazing job.
Oh no, for sure. By the end of the movie, I really liked them together. Like by the
Exactly.
last, the in the last third of the
I
movie,
know it's
the
the best
third
part.
act is really tight. You know what I mean?
So
Once
much,
they
yeah.
that car chase in the middle, I was literally like, I have to stop watching this because like if I don't need to see more action. That car chase in the middle, or not even in the middle, it's like
Beginning.
the
Yeah.
beginning of the like the end of the first act is what that is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is dumb. This doesn't need to be happening. Like, why do
No.
you? But that's why the movie's 2 hours and 13 minutes. You need a 13-minute car chase, because I'm
Yeah.
just like, I hate fluff.
So over the top, like yeah, remember the guy on the trolley, like the black guy driving it, like he
Yeah.
had all these one-liners and like he was a character for a moment and like it's
But yeah, it's just that just epitomizes 90s action movies to me. Like that, at some point there's going to be a car chase.
yeah. The only thing about that one compared to new ones though is like a lot of that was that 99 like practical effects though.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no,
I
for
liked
sure.
it. Like there's a lot of it that I'm just like how it looks. Yeah, it's so Michael Bay and blown out and stuff, but and a Ferrari, but it's like okay, like these are there's stunt people here. There's
Oh yeah, no, for sure. No, I don't. The special effects were all practical in that movie.
Mhm.
There's no, it's not that age of, there was no CGI happening.
No.
Sure, maybe at the end where the jets were flying around, maybe,
Yeah,
there
there
might have
was
been,
some subtle stuff, but
but whether that was CG or just,
yeah.
like green screened actual jets into the movie, like
Mhm.
it's arbitrary, but like it it was just, it kind of calmed down. I liked how the movie calmed
The
down.
last third, like
Yeah,
you said, is like a different movie. It's tight when they're actually together and friends. They should have done that like halfway through the movie. Like
right,
when
right.
they're like when they actually become buddies, you want it to last, but it's like they're just like yeah, they play off each other well at the end, like really well. Like it's surprising. Like
Well, the problem is that I had is that their relationship is based on really stupid parts of the movie, like Sean Connery's daughter and Nick Cage's wife being pregnant
mhm.
was kind of the binding force in their relationship, because Connery was empathizing with Nicolas Cage for just be having a child, and and he wants Nicolas Cage to get to know his kid and not have
Yeah.
not have
So
that horrible relationship that he had with his daughter. So it's that stupid tiny nonsense that they bound their relationship with, that was completely the part of the movie that was just superfluous, that they didn't need to have in the movie, was in there just so these two people could get along. Like
mhm.
that's what the writers were thinking. And
Yeah.
and the
But I
thing
can
is,
admire like because they're both in the same city that might be bombed, so that could bring you to like work
yeah,
together with someone.
I know, but how often during the movie were you thinking about that?
No, no,
Never.
no.
Never
But
until they
it did.
brought it up.
Yeah, to the up. Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, oh yeah, that's right, he has a daughter. Oh yeah, that's right, he has a girlfriend. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's right, she's pregnant. It was never any of the driving force in the movie. And it's like every time they added in that stuff during the last 2/3 of the movie, I was just like, oh God, you stop hammering this home. Nobody cares about this. Like you could have not had this happen. Nicolas Cage could have been single. It doesn't make any difference. Like
Yeah, for
you're
sure.
adding 5 minutes of crap to a movie. Like that just doesn't. It's not important. And I mean, we don't need another layer of
I think
plot.
that was the 90s though, and just how that like because they're like it's so many things flashing that they have like all the connections like are overdone.
Oh no, for sure. No, for sure. Like because the connections are so tenuous that you need something in there, the glue to hold together why the movie's taking place or why these two people are there together. And
Yeah,
it's
totally.
so they're like, okay, well, here it is. Here's the glue. And the thing is it's bad. It's that part. It always bothers me when there's stuff in a movie that you need to have in there just so the movie happens.
Yeah,
It's
I think
like,
like I grew up with that though. That
oh
was
no,
so
yeah,
heavily in the 90s that yeah, I get it, but it's just to me it's just part of the cliche of the action movie and the
that's what it
90s
is.
movie and
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like the car chase. I knew it was going to be in there. It had to be. Why would it had to be? But like, does it have to be? Is always the thing. Like, it's the only part of the movie that I tuned out of, because I'm like, man, I don't need to see this, because you
mhm.
could literally cut this out of the movie and it wouldn't matter.
The movie, though, overall, there was moments where I had like I get all those like weird like I don't know what they are like hair standing on the back of your neck type
Hmm.
like moments, and I got that in this movie at the end, like when he's like in that clock tower with the guy with the knife.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
he's like Rocket Boy or whatever. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
yeah.
some reason like I was like no way this is happening, and like I forgot about it, but it like sent
Me
like
too.
yeah he went flying, and like yeah the violence on that guy, he got destroyed, and then yeah,
Yeah.
even at the end too, when he does the green flares after he shoves that huge needle in his heart, and he's
Hmm.
like he's on his knees with the
Yeah,
flares, like the planes go over his head. It was like
yeah.
it's
That's
so over the top, but I was
yeah.
like I for this for the time, I love that this exists.
Oh, for sure. No, very iconic moments in this
Hmm.
movie that stand out. I mean, like,
Yeah.
but for, and the parts that were in there, they're like cringy and eye rolly, like
Mhm.
when they were on those the mine cart
Oh,
underneath
that
it.
part.
And,
I knew
and
you
I'm,
were gonna bring that up. Yeah, that part's yeah, the
my
Minecart Madness from
God.
Donkey Kong. I'm so glad
Yeah.
you mentioned that. I knew you'd mention that Donkey Kong. Yeah, and he's hanging by one foot.
Yeah, no, it's just like it was about 5 minutes
Cut
into it
that.
happening, and I'm
Cut
like,
that.
wait, why is this happening? What's
Mhm.
going on now? Is this just some callback to like some Indiana Jones nonsense?
I know.
Because that's what it feels
Mine
like.
it felt like
But
Donkey Kong. Yeah, like that part. I don't. That's one of my least favorite parts. Even as a kid, I always hated the minecart part.
I mean, it was short, but
Yeah, at least,
it
but still, hanging by one foot. And
I know, and the thing is I was watching this and I thought to myself, they built this set just to have this happen,
no,
and this
that
is
part's
just
good,
it's
but
just
we're
it's
fine that
yeah,
they would
it's
do it
just
for that.
dumb. Like this whole part is dumb.
I
Like
know they spent all the money on that. I mean, like it looks great, but it's a minecart madness from Donkey Kong. Like I don't.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, absolutely pointless, and it doesn't damage the film because it's not too long and it's not a major plot point, but
Totally.
like wow. I mean, it's
But
just a
yeah.
way to kill off more of Ed Harris's soldiers.
Oh, yeah. Ed Harris, like yeah, soldiers. But Ed Harris, just in particular, like yeah, he's on point with his acting. Like he's not really putting on too much, but it goes a long way. Like for Ed Harris, I love Eddie Harris.
Oh, for sure. He's the best part of the movie.
Hmm.
As
Yeah,
far as
as a
I'm
kid,
concerned.
I used to think. As a kid, I used to think too. He was my favorite. Yeah,
I mean, the thing is
I
like
wanted more always.
he's he's not actually a bad guy in the movie.
I
This is
know.
the thing. Like they paint him they paint his acts, the things that he's trying to do are bad in a big picture way, but his motivation isn't bad. The way he's doing it isn't bad because no one's getting hurt.
Hmm.
He's not killing anyone.
Hmm.
He's shooting people with like sleep darts and stuff. I mean, it's
At
at
the
no
beginning,
point. Yeah,
taking over getting the bomb or whatever.
yeah. At no point is he a bad guy, and he's doing everything by the book.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing though. I think I thought that as a kid too. It kind of threw me off. Like, shouldn't he have blown up like some kids, or like shouldn't he have blown up that place? Like, didn't that just show like he didn't have the guts to do it, or he it was always a bluff, like he said, right?
yeah, that's the thing. That's what he said. It's
Yeah.
like they called our bluff. We'll get the mission's over,
Hmm.
and that was it. That's the movie right there. I mean, like, but it's all of his stupid friends that perpetuate the
Hmm.
nonsense in that. Like
Hmm.
but yeah, like seriously, Ed Harris, that guy. I mean, come on, that guy.
Yeah, yeah, he's amazing. You gotta see that movie or rewatch it if you've seen it. We'll talk about it on the podcast eventually. The Behind Enemy Lines with when he's the sniper.
Right.
So
Yeah.
good.
No, that's high on my list of
Yeah,
watching. I mean, like, because he's just so good. Like,
so good. Yeah.
and you forget, like, that's the thing. Like, you just mention things like mention Ed Harris now, and they'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, what was he in?" And then you
Mm.
go to his IMDb and scroll down, and you just be like, "Oh yeah, no, he's in everything."
Yeah, from that time, and he
Yeah,
was
from that time.
such an under. I don't know if people loved him as much as I did, but as a kid, I thought like I could tell his acting was brilliant when I was 10 years old. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
How come he's not my dad, this overconfident guy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, God. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. Like, there's so many weird things in this movie. Like, yeah, they get Nick Cage to join their secret team because they need like a chemical expert because they have these weird rockets that look like anal beads. I don't even know if I can put that on the podcast, but I have to bleep it out. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
green little beads that are like this poison that's in the rockets, and he's a specialist, so they call him in, and they have to get Sean Connery out of jail because he escaped from Alcatraz. This all takes
Mhm.
place on Alcatraz. So they have like locked down Alcatraz, and they have people that were on a tour guide locked up as hostages. So like the whole come together at the beginning there is.
Oh, it was quickly cobbled together. All of the reasoning behind all of
Yeah,
this was
okay.
just
Mhm.
nonsense because, only one man can break into Alcatraz, and
Yeah,
then Sean Connery. Okay, only one man can defuse these
Nick
rockets. Okay,
Cage,
Nick Cage. So
Godspeed,
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. So it's a lot of only one man can do this
Hmm.
scenario,
I
and
know.
it's the whole movie rests on that,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So
funny too. Like when he's in, like when they get him out of jail, Sean Connery, and they clean him up at that hotel room. There's that gay guy, and like you know what I mean, like
hmm
gay
oh
back in 1996, and he's a
yeah.
hairdresser. It's like
I know, that was just so cringy. It's like, oh my God, this would never fly now.
he's like, I don't
Never.
care what you did to those men. He's like, I just want to know if you like your haircut.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it just, yeah, I know. That was like, it's just more of a sign of the times of that movie. Like,
Mm-hmm. But like you're saying, like just a one man show, one man army.
yeah, oh, for sure.
And I
For
guess
sure.
what he escapes Nicolas Cage like from that hotel, then yeah, it leads into the huge car scene, right? The car
Mhm.
chase.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just one uh, stupid situation to the next in the first a third of the movie. Like that's just the setup is so cornball, but the payoff is so much more worth it than the setup. Like you have to sit through that nonsense, like the whole overacting Nick Cage. Like he's really, really in the first third of this movie, he's really like. I guess he's just being Nicolas Cage, but I
Yeah,
mean,
no, he
I
but
just
he
forgot
does
that
the over
that's
the
what he's
top Nick
like.
Cage, but then like yeah, when they're in the helicopter before he goes with the army to Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, before they go to Alcatraz, like I start like yeah, I noticed that like he was putting it on more at the beginning because he starts to like show the character like he's actually getting scared, you know what I mean? He's not
Yeah.
so overconfident and silly, but it's like done in such a over the top Nick Cage way.
Yeah, like while he's comfortable in the first part of the movie doing what he's doing, as soon
He
as he's taken
normally
out of his comfort zone, he's much more of a understandable character. Like
totally.
it's weird how that works, but yeah, I'm gonna have to like see more Nicolas Cage just to be like, okay, yeah, no, he's always like this.
No,
This
that's what I
is what
mean.
he
Like,
is.
if you didn't grow up, like, yeah, like if you want to, like, this is expect. This is a Jim Carrey. Like for me as a kid, like Nick Cage, or Nick Cage, like this stuff. Like you expected this. Like I thought he was acting normal as a kid when I saw
Right.
this.
Yeah, no kidding,
I was
right?
like, oh, I hope I'm just as, as normal as Nick Cage in this movie. He's a guy with a science job and stuff. But no, he's acting. Yeah, it's so like cagey. Like people name it cagey. They say it's cagey. It's part of it. But like you said, exploring other movies will give you, more of an understanding or appreciation. I think that's what for me because I was in the Nick Cage time. Like there's 10 movies out. You know what I mean?
Right, right, exactly. He was the man of that
Hmm.
time. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the go-to guy if you wanted a Nick Cage guy, right? Like,
Hmm.
so I mean, I just forgot,
Totally.
I just, like him, movies that he's in aren't the kind of movies I want to see. So
Hmm.
like my Nick Cage experience is not as say uh as much as my Sean Connery experience.
Right.
It's way more than my Nick Cage experience.
See, that's so funny that because that's what I'm saying. Remind me and you because I'm like I know I'm like grew up on the Cage and you grew up on
Yeah,
Sean
exactly.
Connery. It's
Yeah,
hilarious. It makes me laugh. That's funny.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, no, like you said, like there's so the other things. The another part of the movie I thought, like after they do like yeah, they're all the mercenary. That's kind of cool too. When like I guess they're with the Americans and they get kind of like lured into a trap in that room, and they
Hmm.
actually do murder all those people. Like the
Yeah.
guns, the action is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's one of those scenes where the Ed Harris character, whatever his
Yeah.
Major Hummel or whatever his name was, that's where he like kind of like he was kind of choked that that happened because he
Hmm.
didn't want anyone to get hurt.
Right. Yeah.
This is the thing. Like he only shot one guy in the whole movie,
Hmm. No, I know
and that was right at the end.
Yeah, no,
Right?
yeah, that scene, like, yeah, he doesn't want it to happen, and then you see him kind of like being like, no, no, like people are getting shot, like you're like, I guess they did it for more of like to like or whatever.
Well, it's the moment, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's the moment where you can see the difference between him and his men, right? His men are bloodthirsty, they're in it for the money. They don't believe in the actual like cause that he's going for. They're just like, they're not as focused as he is. Like he's like
Hmm.
stop firing, and everyone just keeps firing, and like nobody. He's things are out of control at that point.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
no, totally.
like
I'd
he's
I'd agree.
yeah,
Like, yeah, he's it's out of control. You see the dynamic between them shift, and yeah, it's even good. Like at the end, like when Nick Cage, they find them and they disarm some of the rockets. They're looking for more, and like yeah, the he's having with his mercenaries, Ed Harris. Like everyone starts turning on each other because a lot of the people on his team, they want to like actually like kill people because they want to like get paid or whatever.
yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
carry out the orders, but yeah, and when they all like have the guns to each other and stuff, it's pretty good
Oh,
at the end.
for
The
sure.
whole team turns on each other at the
Yeah,
very end.
the little Mexican standoff, as it were.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
kind of it's kind of funny. And I mean, it just shows like the kind of things that they allow happen in a movie where it's like the Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery literally sneak up to these guys having this conversation. They're like literally looking through the window of the next room. They're like in the same room as all
Mm.
these bad guys. Whereas early on in the movie, there's like, motion detectors and this, that, and the other. Nobody would ever get near any of these guys.
Mhm.
And then by the end, Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage have literally just snuck up on the main dudes in the whole show.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like
because they're
it's
just heavily distracted, I guess, with the
exactly, yeah, exactly,
own like mutiny or whatever, and like
yeah.
yeah, it comes down to it where they all fire on each other, and yeah, Ed Harris dies from that, and Nick Cage asks him where's the last rocket, and it's on the lighthouse, like we said earlier when he's
Yeah,
up there, and he
yeah.
shoots that guy out the window with the rocket, and the part at the end too when he gets the little bead or whatever, the green little bead, and he
Mhm.
like when he shoves it in the homie's mouth and punches it. Always thought that was so cool as a kid. Like he cracked that like poisonous like stuff in his face.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know. And that whole part where he has that bead in his hand and he's like running with it and
Hmm.
jumping through walls and
Hmm.
getting shot at, and
Yeah,
he
puts it in
puts it
his
in his
pocket.
pocket, and then he's
Yeah,
in like a fist fight with the guy. The whole
yeah,
time you're
getting
thinking,
thrown
dude,
through a
this is
window.
so
Yeah,
bad. Like
yeah,
this, like I was freaking out. Like this,
I know.
th- oh no, there's that poisonous bead in his pocket. Like,
I know, and like when he puts the beads like in that drain, he could have
right, yeah.
easily just put the loose one on top, couldn't he have?
Oh
Or
well,
or was it
no.
more safer to keep in his pocket and throw people through windows or whatever? Like,
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. He's the expert, not us. So.
but yeah, the whole bomb and like how it just like melts people's faces and all that the stuff that they're bluffing to blow up San Francisco with.
Yeah, I mean, they set that up really good in the beginning when Ed Harris and his team heisted those missiles. Like, I really thought that was good. It's like that shows you that they mean business, and you kind of think, oh, Jesus, Ed Harris is a bad guy. He wants to melt people, and then like in reality, he doesn't. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He actually doesn't. And but the whole patriotic, like I want these men who were forgotten in Desert Storm or whatever to get.
Yeah.
I wanted their families to get paid out
Mhm.
for just being dishonored.
Mhm.
I think that is very. I mean, that is a loose way of making this motivation for this guy to do this. Like It's just feels so like it's so patriotic that it just feels like it's just there as kind of like some kind of like patriotic message to everybody, like,
Hmm.
all right, everybody, like these soldiers are dying. Everyone in the audience should respect that. Let's come out of this movie with a message in your heart, like,
Yeah,
that
well,
people died and didn't get paid out, their
yeah,
families. Like, what the
America.
fuck? Like, yeah, exactly. It's a lot of flag waving going on in
Hmm.
here, and that real patriotic music that happens when things
Yeah,
are happening, like
yeah, don't
helicopters are
mind it.
flying in, and it's all like.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a breakdown. I don't mind it because, like, I grew up on very patriotic American.
Mhm.
Like when I was a kid before 9/11 and all that, like America, like it was just like it was the land of like opportunity, and like they put on this show. Like as a kid, it was really impressionable as a Canadian, right? But
Mhm.
because you weren't living it, but it was shoved down your throat, and you kind of were like, man, why does it feel so over the top, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it plays into those tropes for this type of movie, being a Hollywood American movie, right? Like of course, they would throw that in there back in the 90s, 96,
Oh, for sure.
But overall, like, yeah, the Ed Harris, Sean Connery, even Nick Cage, I'd say everyone puts on a decent show in this movie. It's not like they did a bad job, it's just the script is the script. And
Oh yeah, no, no, no. They did a really good job. I mean, like I said, Sean Connery, he could sleepwalk his way through this kind of a movie, and he
Mhm,
he really like he is the epitome of the old tough guy, right? Like
totally. It's
you
cool.
he just totally like, and the way that he just handles situations without even flinching, like he's
Hmm.
seen it all, reacting like to situations. He's just comfortable, like, and Nick Cage is freaking out. He's the young guy, he doesn't know what to do, and it's just they're great, like, in their roles. It's everything's really appropriate as far as that's concerned. And I mean, like,
Hmm.
it's same with Ed Harris. You stick him in a military uniform, and it's like, okay, well, he doesn't really need to act. It feels
I
like.
know it's like both like it's strong. It's weird this movie too that the older males and then Nick Cage and stuff, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's just yeah, no, it's done well. Like the movie, yeah, it has its flaws. The minecart scene, the mindless chasing, a few like over the top, like down your like just repetitive like story stuff they're trying to get through with the
Yeah,
daughter and blah
yeah,
blah blah.
yeah.
Like just too much. Like don't mention it, but don't explain it 1,000 times. Like if we take something from it, we take something from it. If we don't, we don't, right? Just over the top story, over the top, some of the action. But overall, like the acting's on point, and yeah, there's the good parts. Like the last third of the movie, I wish they kind of without the minecart part, I wish they kind of had more of that, like where they're actually kind of like buddying and like actually working off each other more.
Yeah, you needed the first two-thirds of the movie in order to get to the last third, and
Hmm.
that's the problem,
Hmm.
like, is that they needed to shoehorn a whole bunch of stuff in there before it ended up getting good.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's kind of like, it almost feels like when you look at it and it's like 2 hours and 11 minutes, you're like, man, this movie doesn't need to be that long, but it
Hmm.
actually does need to be that. Like,
Hmm.
they could have taken the car chase out of it. That's pretty well
And the
written.
cart part, right?
And the
But
cart part, I mean, but they would have ended up putting another part in there anyway.
hmm.
But like, it, they cutting the car chase out, what, that takes 10 minutes out of the movie. It needed to be a 2 hour film,
Hmm.
which is rare for a 90s movie. They're usually an hour and a half. Like,
Yeah, I know it.
so I mean,
It felt long as a kid. This movie.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, they needed that time to set this entire thing up. And I'm glad I watched it. It's just that, like, wow, like, I had to take anti-cringe medicine for the first third of it
Hmm.
just to get through it, like, just to get through it, because
Hmm.
I'm not used to that Cage level acting.
Yeah, no, I kind of am. So it's like, yeah, like it was like it was like trip down memory lane, like getting all these silly feelings and like like I saw this movie when I was like 10, so
Yeah, 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 for
it's
sure.
like hilarious and like yeah, Nick, it was a time, it was an era, it was part of that decade.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's Nick was on top of the world. Well, Well, that wraps up another week's podcast. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this. I know all those New York Toy Fair reveals just all came out. I'll probably be doing a trans topic on that as well. And then, yeah, me and Grub Gun will be covering some of those in the next podcast. So, yeah, look forward to that. Yeah, thanks again, Grub Gun, for co-hosting. Thanks. Go check him out on Twitter, YouTube, and all that. Links down below. Also, special thanks who did the little dolphin logo for me, Princess Rexelia. Once again, go follow her on Instagram. I'll have her links down below. Awesome little artist. She'll be doing more art for me and tons of stuff. So she's part of the little crew. Check out Spider Layers podcast and their Twitter. I'll leave the links down below as well. But yeah, really hit them with a follow on their stuff. I'll leave their links down below. It really mean a lot to me, everyone that supports me. I'm trying to support them back and yeah, bring everyone together. But yeah, that wraps it up on another fun week. VHS and Memories made a comeback, Transformers news, all that stuff. Lots of stuff planned for the future. This is only episode 16. This is barely being this is still being worked on and seeing where things will go. But I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. Get this to 100 views. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share the podcast. Really means the world to me. And yeah, we're just trying to grow and celebrate nerdy and silly things, and yeah, just be ourselves no matter what that is. So stay strong, stay safe, stay positive, and thanks for listening. Take care, everybody. See you on the next one.